I actually have two more short presentations. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do both of them. So I'm going with the priority one, okay? The one that I think is probably the most important here. First of all, a little plug for Nathan Larson.
Yay!
Awesome. Okay. I'll tell you, this guy sits there, most humble guy in the world. When we first got started with For Life, and I'll tell you, there was some days where literally it was a new code, a new software, before we had this secure, great company we have now, back in the early stages, where Nathan, he was the one that we depended on to basically make sure that the entire company's bonus was correct. So we sat midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning with printouts that Nathan would have to go through and basically hand check to make sure that the system was paying correctly. So if that's not smart, then I don't want to be very smart. So he's a very intelligent guy. What I'm going to share with you right now is, you've kind of heard a little bit about my story. And, you know, it's a little bit, I'm kind of glad I'm following Nathan in the compensation plan, because this is piggybacking on that a little bit, because I'm basically going to tell you what I've seen for 15 years. And what I've seen from a couple different perspectives. Now, when I was working at the corporate office, needless to say, I talked about the systems, right? There weren't any secrets. I saw these systems. And I can tell you right now that there's a different approach for different markets and for different people. But we talked a little bit at lunch about this. You know what? Really, it's pretty turnkey. It stays very, very consistent. And so I think that a lot of times we have people try to reinvent the wheel. And they're always like, well, I've got to do this one. I've got to come up with a new approach. You know what? Let me tell you something right now with the Platinum International Diamonds. There was a certain way that most of them did it. Did they personalize the message? Absolutely. Did they customize it for the markets that they were trying to penetrate? Absolutely. Did they reinvent the wheel? Absolutely not. They took something that's tried and true, and they customized it for their people. They put their own signature on it. They put their heart into it, and it's worked. So when I first became a distributor, I had a lot of people ask me, because of my premier sales manager position, what's the secret? What are the Platinums doing? Sometimes they didn't like the response, because they wanted to have some sort of secret unearthed, something easier, something that was less evasive, something that required less time or energy or commitment, right? So when I pulled it back and said, well, this is what they do, no. There's got to be something else, right? There's something easier. There's an easier way. Well, no. That's pretty much what Herman did. That's what Juan did. That's what Jeff did. That's what Bonnie did. That's what Dave did. Okay? The ticket is this. We all have the same compensation plan, the same product, the same company, and there's some of us who succeed and some of us who do not. And the number one thing it comes down to, I believe, is, do you follow a system, or are you just flailing around out there? And two, how big is your dream, and how hard are you willing to chase it? Because that's what it comes down to ultimately, is how hard are you willing to chase it? Every single distributor with For Life, every single one of them has fallen flat on their face at one time or another. And I've had a front row view to some of it. I've seen every one of these people take bumps and bruises. I've seen them all at the verge of, oh my gosh, this is all going to collapse. What's going to happen? What am I going to have to do? Listen, these people you see, they're all very, very different. Now, I'm not going to name a name here, but I'm going to tell you something that I would normally not share, but I feel impressed to tell you this. When I worked with each of these distributors as a premier sales manager, there was one who gave me more motivation than the rest, for a very, very unique reason. Because I talked with this distributor all the time, and I couldn't find anything very special. That's really bad to say, right? But it's the truth. I talked with some of them, I'm like, man, if we could have the energy of a Juan Rosado, you know, the dynamic, just charisma of a Juan. if we could have the tactical strategy of a Dave Daughtry. You know, if we could, and I went through all of them, I was like, man, they're all extraordinary in one way or another. One particular distributor, and this is not a disrespectful thing, made me think, my goodness, if that distributor can be making that kind of money every single month, I better be able to do it. Because every time I talked to this particular distributor, something was said or done that I thought to myself, wow, there's something pretty awesome about this opportunity. There's something pretty awesome about For Life. Now, I tease my wife and I say, yeah, I call that the village idiot syndrome. That if there's somebody out there that can make that kind of money, then man, that represents them pretty special, and it's a testament to the system. Now, I will give this particular distributor a ton of credit in the fact, systematically, it's followed. It's followed. And it's done in such a way that I look to this distributor now and I say, you have my utmost respect. Because you're an ordinary person, extremely ordinary person that's had absolutely extraordinary results. And I think that has something to do with the system. So, I've been able to apply some of this myself. This isn't just 7 years of trying to observe and learn and soak it all up, but now I've been able to accomplish some things. You know, the Silver Dollar Award, which Janice is a co-recipient of. That's a special award to me as well. Because that's not an award based on either criteria or achievement, but that's based on the fact that you showed an entrepreneurial spirit in a way that you got recognized by David Lisenby. And that's something I'm very, very proud of and I'm very grateful for. The President's Club. I was President's Club last year, and this year I've already done President's Club for my second time. But these systems, what I'm going to share with you today, have enabled me to do this. Because you know what? I'm very much like that one guy. I'm a very ordinary guy. Very ordinary. But this company has enabled me to do things that have been very extraordinary. And it's based on what I'm going to share with you today. First of all, we all know this, right? You are who you surround yourself with. Patrick mentioned it a little earlier. You attract the kind of people that ultimately you are. Okay? And I'm telling you, that's the same thing with For Life as a company. You know, we have some people in the world who don't fit with For Life. They just simply don't fit with For Life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Because I think sometimes you try to take a square peg and make it fit into a round hole. It doesn't work. And you don't necessarily want it to work. I signed up a person one time, we were building the business together, and he came to me and he approached me with strategies. Well, I'm going to do this. And basically these strategies, if it looks like it, and it talks like it, and it sounds like it, and smells like it's probably a con, right? These were all cons. He saw the 64% that Nathan just outlined, and he said, you know what? I don't even need transfer factor. I don't need any company culture. I just need that 64%. Here's what I'm going to do with it. And he came up with all these approaches, and pretty soon at the end of the day, when you stripped all the substance away, it looked a lot like a scam. Now that guy, he won a Great Escape trip, I think his first 90 days in the business. He was out of the company, I think, 120 days.
Wow.
Okay? It's because he didn't fit with For Life culture. Now, can you be aggressive and do well in For Life? Absolutely. Can you be ambitious and do well with For Life? Absolutely. Can you be conservative and do well with For Life? Absolutely. Listen, we're the kind of company that says, you know, bring everybody. But we're not the kind of company that sacrifices culture or sacrifices standards or morals that are the direction of who we are. So I really believe you are who you surround yourself with. So I want to say something about what Nathan said. You know, I've been to 30 countries with For Life now. And there's a few different countries. You have these really ambitious teams, and they're trying to take what Patrick's saying, and they're trying to envision where they're going to be. Okay? But a lot of them will say, fake it till you make it. Okay? Which I personally don't believe you fake it till you make it, because I think that's the point that Patrick was alluding to. You have to sincerely be able to see yourself there, right? So in the beginning, I like to refer to a term as what I call borrowed credibility. Okay? Borrowed credibility. When I first became a For Life distributor, there wasn't too much of a story to tell. Yeah, my wife thinks I'm crazy. I'm not really being able to make too much bonus so far. So I've actually taken a step back when it comes to my financial situation. And I'm out here just chasing a dream, but not having a lot of results so far. Wow, I can't wait to join you. Sign me up, right? So at the beginning, I borrowed credibility. Dave Daughtry had a story that I could recite frontwards, backwards when I was sleeping because I had heard his story enough that now I took his story and I borrowed that credibility. Now, I always shared my personal dream, my personal goals, but I said, hey, listen, I've seen somebody who's done it. I've seen them. I know him. I've seen his story. I've witnessed this progress, this evolution. And then I start to borrow that credibility. Now, every one of you has a certain amount of credibility that you have on your own, right? And it doesn't have to be for life accomplishments. There's accomplishments that you have from other realms, other perspectives, much more than I've ever accomplished. I mean, there's things that you've done in personal lives, and I think about our dentist friend here. Is that instant credibility? Absolutely. Now, what she needs to do is be able to apply it to her For Life business, right? Plug it into her network when it comes to For Life, and then she's going to build that credibility on a For Life platform. But she brings what she has with her, right? Then you create your own story. So, please, talk to the people who are where you want to be and got there how you want to get there. And listen to them, okay? Because I know a lot of distributors out there say, oh, this, and this, right? But if I want to know how to go to Platinum International Diamond, there's a few people that I'm going to talk to. Platinum International Diamonds, right? Because they've been to where I need to go. The Platinum Principle. How many Platinums do we have, Daniel? 10 Platinums. Double digits, right? So if we count Juan Damaris, that's 2, right? So that gives us 10 or 11 with 2 of them.
Well, if David Wynn counts 1, it counts 2.
Yeah, I think so.
That's 11.
11? Okay, so 10 or 11, right? Now, I want you really quickly to tell me those Platinum International Diamonds, how many of them are doctors?
1.
And 1? And I'm going to tell you this. I've been around since Herminio was just a baby distributor. And it wasn't until a few years after he became successful, the first time I ever heard him referred to as a doctor. Was he a doctor the whole time? Yes. But it wasn't something that he was hanging his hat on. He wasn't saying, hey, listen, I'm a doctor, so follow me. Did it add extra credibility as he progressed and as his ascent? Yes. But I point that out to you for a very, very, very important reason. I've worked very closely with 3 of our Health Science Advisory Board members. Very closely. In fact, I had one of them who had a family member in my organization. Okay? Now, as I've worked with them, that's dreamy, right? To be able to work with an MD, a PhD, a cancer oncologist with a product like Transfer Factor, it's good. It's not the key component to success. It isn't, because you know what happens? What happens is it becomes so much about the doctor that you start to lose sight of the vision, right? And if you're going to be setting outrageous goals, most of those outrageous goals are tied to things beyond just the fact that my doctor is prescribing me an alternative form of medicine. Okay? So please don't lose sight of that. The Platinum Principle is such that we have an incredibly scientific, patented, proprietary, and proven product. But you don't have to have a PhD or an MD to do well in this company. In fact, the percentages would show you that you're probably just as good off if you don't. Duplicate, right? This is the oldest thing in any amount of training, is teaching people to fish rather than giving them a fish. This is so key in this. And I'm telling you, I fell victim to this when I first became a distributor. You want to know what I first did? Dave Daughtry, he says that when he first signed up, he talked to 3 people. And he always says, but the 3 people that I got on board, the 3 people that I started my business with, were me, myself, and I. He said those are the 3 people he started with, right? Because you're in business by yourself, right? You know who the first 3 people I talked to? The 3 people closest in my life. My brother, my sister, and my mother. I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to tell these people about the business. Now, I've been with 4Life for 7 years. And they'd seen 4Life. They knew the Lisenbees. So there was instant credibility based on who was the founder of the 4Life, right? They had taken the product. In fact, my monthly allotment of product, I no longer took it. You want to know why I couldn't take off time for Daddy Donut Day? I was sick a lot that year. Why was I sick? I wasn't taking the product. Because I was giving the product to my mom. My mom loved the product so much, she was the one taking the product. So I was no longer a product of the product. She was taking it. So they already believe in the product. That's easy, right? They know the Lisenbees, they believe in the product, they've seen me involved with this company for 7 years, and I have instant credibility with them based on a relationship. So I sat down with my mom, and I was bad. Horrible presentation. Okay? 7 years being involved with the company, and my presentation was horrible. I think at one point I was nervous with my mom because it's the first time I'd actually had to live it, right? Big difference between knowing it and doing it. Having acquired it and applying it, right? So I sit down with my mom, I'm like, Mom, you know the product's good. Increases your natural killer cell by 64%. We pay out 437%. She's just like, pay out 437%. How do you stay in business paying 437%? I'm like, oh, scratch that. Reverse it. That's what I did, right? And she basically signed up because only a mother could sign up after that first presentation, right? Now, what I go back to with this is when I got her involved, I put her underneath me and I thought, here it is, together building people, right? I'm going to build my mom. And I shot myself in the foot. Yep. I absolutely shot myself in the foot. That is part of the reason that I'm a President's Club International Diamond today rather than a gold. I love my mom, but this is what I did. I started saying, okay, she's not going to really go out there and fish. So I've got to give her every single fish that comes my way. So every time I had something come in on the line, every time I pulled one in on the net, I said, I know the perfect spot for you under Mom's, you know, my dearest mom. Put her underneath Mom. Pretty soon I got somebody going to Mexico. Got somebody going to Japan. Why am I not getting paid on any of this? Because what I had done is I had put these people under Mom to help Mom. Okay? And that had saturated my 3 level. Because now, what are they doing? They're bringing people in on their front line, which is already my 3rd level, right? And now they're bringing people, and pretty soon, I've got this organization developing. My mom doesn't have any personally enrolled, because she's not really fishing. And now she has all this 3-level volume, because I'm putting everybody underneath her. So, along these lines, build with those people who deserve it. Because everybody needs it. You know what I ended up doing? I ended up going to my mom. I said, Mom, I shot myself in the foot. You're a presidential diamond. Because you're a presidential diamond, I'm a presidential diamond too. I should be an international diamond, Mom. But I'm leaving my premier pool sitting on the table because I'm trying to help you. And she just said, whatever you want to do, son. I said, I'm going to start paying your mortgage, but we're going to get rid of your position. Because, see, you can have one strong position. Hey, listen, is it hard to build one good spot? Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Is it hard to build 2 spots? Listen, if you could take that on, more power to you. But trying to build 2 spots is basically like settling for 2 nice homes instead of building your dream home. Build your dream home. And don't get caught up in trying to build 2 nice homes because that doesn't work out very often. So what I did is, from the time that happened to the time of my mom's death, I paid for her mortgage with my premier pool. Was I still helping her?
Yes.
Absolutely. Was she still very grateful? Yes. But did I shoot myself in the foot anymore? No. Now think about that. If that wasn't my mom, if that's just a business partner, right? If that's just somebody that I met, is that person going to be saying, hey, whatever you want to do, Kev, just get rid of that spot?
No way.
No way. Okay? So please learn from that. Second, share, don't sell. Okay? There's a big, big difference. When you're sharing this opportunity with people, first of all, your motive is, it's not the results, right? As Patrick's talking about. It's not just, it's not all contingent upon whether they say yes or no, whether they buy a bottle or a case. What it is it's about the essence of what Together Building People is. I'm sharing with them, wanting them to be able to experience what I'm experiencing. Okay? I'm gonna talk about something I think is very important. This whole thing, Together Building People, the service aspect of science, success, and service. This is about humanity, right? It's about helping others. Now I'm gonna give you just a quick analogy. Let's say my son is up here, and we're in this pool, and he's drowning. He's a poor swimmer, and he's flailing around, and he's drowning. He's up and down. I can see his head go up and down with the water. Okay? Now me, I'm over here in the pool too, and I'm drowning myself. I'm not a very good swimmer either. And I am drowning, and I'm going up and down. I'm gasping for breath. Who here's taken a first aid class? CPR. What's the first thing they tell you should not do if somebody's drowning? Don't swim to them if you're not strong yourself, right? Because if you're not strong and they're not strong, you're just going to sink as a team. Same thing. I fly all over the world now. Every time I hear it, my little light bulb goes up. First thing they say, right, is if in case of an emergency and the oxygen mask falls,
Put your mask on.
put your mask on first, then you assist others. There is no difference in this business. If you think you're going to help others before you have helped yourself, it's going to be a long road. Get your structure correct. Focus on your business, and then you're going to be able to help others. Listen, now am I able to help more than I've ever been able to help? Absolutely. Why? Because I've got out of the pool. I've now walked up the lifeguard tower. I have a life preserver in my hand. Now I am absolutely, it's my duty to help now. Because if you go from surviving to thriving and you don't take the step to contribution, then I think you're short-term in your thinking. Okay, so now I'm thriving. If I just had a BMW and a nice home and I wasn't ready to take the step to contribute to my family, my loved ones, my community, my country, to people, then I'm not going to make it to the next step, right? Because that's what it's all about. So make sure, though, that you focus on your structure, focus on your business, and then you're going to be able to help people out a lot more, because now you've got the oxygen mask on, right? This is the hardest thing for me in this business. Chasing ambulances versus chasing the business. I'm going to give you a story. First of all, is there any question that we have absolutely the best product in the world? No question. This is by far the best product out there. And I'm not talking about transferceutical science specifically, or immune support, or yes, but it's also the best. I don't know if there's another product out there that even touches what Transfer Factor can do and what it is. It's so far beyond vitamins and minerals and herbs. That's the first thing. People come to me and say, Kevin, you should take a look at this. What do you got? I got this vitamin. And guess what? Your nutritional intake, you're depleted. You need to be taking this vitamin. It's like, all you have is a vitamin? Really? Because this Transfer Factor is a marketer's dream, right? It's not just the scientific efficacy of it. It's just not the uniqueness of it or the exclusivity of it. It's not just the fact that we have concentrated certified Transfer Factor. It's a marketer's dream. I've had people come to me with vitamins and minerals and herbs. How many of them have a messenger molecule that trains your immune system? Right? Incredible. But because of that, sometimes our greatest strength can also become a weakness, right? Because of that, Transfer Factor sometimes leads people to chasing ambulances. I'm going to tell you, when I first got to Indonesia, had a great partner there. And she came to me, she said, Kevin, I've created my list, right? One of the first things you do, create the list of people who you're going to talk to, right? 100 people on her list. And she said, I'm going to start talking to my people. I said, great. Report back to me. I'm going to fly to Jakarta next month. I'm just going to find out where you're at with your list. So I get there to Jakarta. We go to this Crown Plaza hotel, sit down. I got jet lag, sitting in the lobby with her. I said, how's your list going? She goes, it's tough. She goes, really tough. She goes, I'm having a really hard time. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about your process, because I believe you listen twice as much as you talk, right? Because I want to hear what it is. So I said, tell me about your process. She goes, I wrote down 100 of the sickest people I know.
Oh, no.
She goes, I thought about every single person I know that's sick, Kevin. I thought about people that are terminally ill.
Oh, wow.
I thought about people that are always sick, chronic illness. I'm just sitting there with my jaw on the ground like, this is where we started. I've got just a completely crazy but novel idea. If you're only looking for sick people, you're only going to find sick people. Okay? And her whole approach was find 100 sick people, cure every one of them with transfer factor, and then every one of them is going to be an incredible platinum international diamond. Why? Because they have a testimonial.
They have a story.
Right? Now, when I first became a distributor, there was a lady who got a case of Transfer Factor Plus from me. Good friend of my mom. She came down with a cancer, and the cancer was treatable, but she's going to have to go through one of two different processes. It was a cervical dysplasia, and she was either going to have to go through a scrape or a freeze. Okay? And both of them, she didn't really want to go through those procedures. She had a biopsy that said, you have to go through those procedures. These things will just go away. She took a case of Transfer Factor Plus, went in, they do a little quick pre-screen before they're actually going to do the procedure, right? And in that pre-screen biopsy, nothing. Completely gone. She was a huge distributor for me, right? No.
No.
She said thank you and went on her way.
Wow.
She doesn't even take the product anymore for prevention. See, because that's what happens. There's not always a connect there.
No.
There's not always a connect there. Listen, you've got to look for business people. If you want to help people, find some people who are good business builders. They're going to get a lot of consumers. It doesn't necessarily work the other way. If you get consumers, that doesn't necessarily build the business. So, do we want to help people? Yes. Can Transfer Factor be such a blessing for those people that have sickness? Yes. Is this a treatment product?
No.
This is a prevention product first and foremost. The study that I love the most isn't the natural killer cell study. It's the IgA study.
Yes.
Because if I could take 12 healthy adults and increase their first line of defense by 73%, that's saying something. So, continue to let the product be shared. But don't focus just on chasing ambulances. Branding yourself a for-life leader. External and internal, right? So, this is so key in today's society, today's communities. I love this gentleman right here. For Life Research. Right there, right? It's right there. And wherever I go, listen, I've got my favorite college football team and For Life. And I don't know if I have any clothes that don't say either my favorite college football team or For Life. Problem is the college football team has never paid me once for endorsing them, right? But when I go out like a walking, talking billboard. And the best thing in the world is when people ask you questions, right? What's For Life? Oh, I love that. I love that. Now I gotta be prepared for it, right? But I love that. If I don't have to be the initiator, if I can be the recipient, well now, Pushy, what? You came to me. You asked me. You're the one who initiated the conversation. Okay? So, brand yourself a For Life leader. Now, I'm going to make a quick mention about Facebook. I have gotten 2 big distributors off of Facebook. What? No way. That can't work. My leader in Brazil is off Facebook. She has 2,000 LP her first 30 days in the business, and she's from Facebook. Now, I'm going to just a quick reference of what I think are do's and do nots. And this is a work in progress, right? Because we're constantly trying new things, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I like to call it throwing mud up against the wall, right? We're going to see what sticks. So you try some things. But I'm telling you right now, I've got somebody, I've got a lot of people now from Facebook that add me. I've never met them. I just see our commonalities are for life, right? So I accept it. And then I see it, some of them in their approach. Listen, no matter how good it is, if that's all that comes from you, then people have a way of tuning you out.